Hi, everyone. Welcome to our One World Energy Encounter with the Zohar. We are this week in the portion of Tetzaveh, and in our volume, it's volume 13, and we're at verse 100. Let's begin by inviting in the Kabbalistic lineage of the Rav and Karen and Michael, Rabbi Schlag, Rabbi Brandwein, the Uriah Kodesh, the Ramchal, Rabbi Tafon, Rabbi Mazulai, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Tepsk, Rabbi Kolonimah Shapir Pia Setzan, the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and all the students, Rabbi Mordechai of Chernobyl, one soul with Yosef Tzaddik in Shechem. As we connect to these verses, wherever we are in the world, we want to open our consciousness to connecting with the flawless universe, the upper realm, where all fulfillment and healing resides, and have a consciousness of drawing that energy into our world, specifically ending the war in Israel, the safe return of all the hostages, protection for all innocents that are in harm's way, also energy of healing for those we know who need healing, and energy of assistance to those souls that are transitioning. We want to send them energy of elevation and comfort. Also, the energy of removing negativity from our world, treating everyone with human decency, ahavat chinam, unconditional love, and protection from evil eye and evil speech. Okay. Verse 100. Maria, you want to read English first?
Sure.
Great, thank you. Tachazeh, haush sa'ir dimeshadrin Israel azazel, lahu mar madbara, begin lemehab hulaka lahu sitra achara, lit aska bahade, vitema train sirin amai hacha, chad lashem chad lahu sitra achara, tinach hahu sa'ir, the Sitra Achara Lashem Amai.
Come and behold, Israel sent the goat to Azazel, to the wilderness, so as to give a portion to the other side.
Okay, so this is connecting us to the energy of Yom Kippur, what we refer to as the Day of Atonement, or what our teachers have referred to as the Day of At-One-ment. It's really a day of unity. It's really a day that is somewhat corrupted by traditional understandings of, like, we fast and these 5 restrictions that we don't do on Yom Kippur, which are namely, we don't eat, we don't wash, no sex, no lotions on the body, and no leather shoes. And those 5 things are the way in which we ground physicality. So to a certain degree, this connection is also assisting us in grounding our physicality. Why we want to ground ourselves physically? Because it gives us a stronger connection to our soul. And on Yom Kippur, it gives us a connection to the level of Binah, to the storehouse, the warehouse of all fulfillment, which on Yom Kippur is what we're trying to get for the whole year. It's like the candy store is open and we can grab it. We have 25 hours to grab it, as many blessings as possible. That's Yom Kippur. Now you might say, like, okay, great, but that's like, I don't know, several months off. We have Purim and Passover before we have that. So that's true. However, we're in the month of Pisces, and this year Pisces is 2 months. And typically on the 14th day of Pisces is Purim, which is a holiday which celebrates the survival of the children of Israel and at Persia of that time, where there was a decree that all the children of Israel would be killed. And that decree gets averted, and it's a cause for a big celebration. That's the whole book of Esther, Megillat Esther. So that is actually part of Pisces, of Adar, of this month. So 2 things. One is this idea that Purim is actually a more elevated day than Yom Kippur. What? Yeah. On Purim, we're making the same connection without the 5 restrictions. That's why Yom Kippur is referred to as Kippur, like Purim, but not as strong of a connection. Purim is actually a much stronger connection we have the ability to make. So that's the first observation. So it is appropriate, apropos to what's going on now, because we're actually in the month where Purim takes place. However, this year, Purim doesn't happen on the 14th day of Adar, because there's two Adars. There's two Pisces. We have 60 days of Pisces energy this year because it's a leap year. And then on the Kabbalistic calendar, in a leap year, there are two Pisces, two Adars. So, one second, Peter. So the point I want to make is like, we're in the first 30 days of Adar. Then we'll do a new moon, and it's the second 30 days. And when that happens, Purim gets bounced to the second 30 days. However, today happens to be the 14th of Adar. So today, while it's not Purim, it's referred to as Purim Katan, small Purim. So we are making connection to the energy available to us on Purim with not the same intensity as we will next month during the second edition of Pisces. But notwithstanding, we have this opportunity to make connection today to the highest of highs within the spiritual realm to channel blessings and fulfillment. Yes, Peter.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you and confirm that it was Purim Katan and exactly what was Purim Katan, and you've now answered.
Yes, and I didn't think about that. I didn't make that connection until actually we started talking about it. So, which is also very cool. So anyhow, so that is a huge, huge window in time for us today. And also to be reading a Zohar, which is dealing with what goes on Yom Kippur, just is kind of like doubling down on that, on the energy that's available to us. Okay, so that's by way of introduction. What's the deal with the goats? Now, we also have Passover coming up, and one of the big songs in Passover is Chad Gadya, one little goat. That's a different story. This is two goats. And what's the story with the two goats? Well, we read about this on Yom Kippur. What happened back in the day when the temple stood in Jerusalem was, on Yom Kippur, they would take two goats. One they would send out to the desert, as it says right here, to occupy the other side. And the other goat would be for the Creator. And the question is, why? What is the significance of that? You know, we're not going to accept this as like some historical fact that just went on without understanding why, metaphysically, why was that going on? And so we have the opportunity right now to delve into that and to really unpack a lot of other reasons for why things happen and why we do the things that we do. And so the first takeaway is this idea that we are acknowledging there is another side, and we want to acknowledge that the other side is trying to mess us up, and we do things to protect us from the other side. So the first actual benefit we have from connecting to this is protection from the other side. We're not sending the goat to Azazel, but we're connecting to the energy of sending that goat to Azazel. And by the way, Azazel is hell. Literally, it's what it means. In this context, it's the other side. We're sending the goat to Azazel for the other side. And again, the benefit to us is sweetening judgment, removing judgments, distraction of that accuser, whatever we have going on right now.
So David, Azazel translates to hell?
As I understand.
Okay, so then restating what you said, so right, our teachers are the ones that teach us that it's negative energy. We're not referring to a specific place, right? We're referring to, you know, hence we say the other side. We're referring to something that represents negativity and bad stuff.
Right. Pretty sure the air conditioning doesn't work there, but whatever. Yes, it's very negative. I'm pretty sure, yes, it is a negative. And what do we mean by negative? Takers. Desires to receive for the self. That's negativity. That's our working definition of negativity. Or what some people refer to as bad. It's they lack the ability to consider, you know, that the benefits of sharing. When we share, we have more, which is above logic. It's, you know, to say that is a demonstration of our certainty above logic. When I share, I have more. No, you don't. You have less. Where are you? In what realm, when you share, do you have more? Well, the upper realm. In what realm is it where you are giving something away that you don't have, you now have less? How's that possible? You don't have less. That's the tree of life reality. In the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we know if I take $20 out of my pocket and I give it to Peter, I have 20 less, he has 20 more. We know that. That's a limited consciousness. We're trying to connect to the higher reality, the flawless universe, the tree of life. When I give Peter 20, I have more. So does he. No, we have more. So that's what we mean by negativity. And so the other benefit that we have is really enhancing, growing our consciousness to be open to having certainty beyond logic. Our teachers talk about this all the time. But that's another huge opportunity for us here, is to have certainty above logic. Okay, let's continue.
With which to be occupied. You may ask why there are two goats here, one for Hashem and one for the other side. It is understandable to send a goat to the other side, to Azazel, but why the goat to Hashem?
Okay, so the Zohar is saying, okay, we have two goats. One's going to occupy the accuser in Azazel, and the other one's going to Hashem. I get how we're going to occupy the accuser, the opponent. But what about giving a goat to the creator? Well, how does that make sense? Why do we need two? Let's just occupy the accuser with this distraction of the goat. I just want to take a step back for a second. And so the Zohar is saying, well, it makes sense to give it to the goat. Does it though? To give the goat to the accuser. Does that really make sense? I mean, at a certain level, really? That's all it takes? And so again, this is where we need to really connect to the metaphysical realm, to a deeper understanding, to the internal energy that's here. There's a reason why it's a distraction for the other side. Well, what's that reason? Well, we're going to see. Verse 100. We just read 100. We're going to see now a deeper dive into the meaning of what this is about with a little metaphor. 101. Elo lamalka dahava argiz al bere kara lesan tira. How de ave dina bibne nasha tadir begin to use naman the nabad dina bibre. How santira chade da al deve malkala mechal taman. Kevin de ashkach be bere amar badai la al santira da bebe abba. Elo begin the argiz malka alai. Ma aved azabi it piyas bahade. Kevin the it payas bahade pakid malkala mebad. Suudata ila'a le the libre fakid de la yada. Behahu santira levatar al hahu santira. Amar malka hashtai yinda da misudata ila'a that tikinit the at kinit the libre yit arbev patora ma'avad. Karla memana al suudata amarle at kimidi utshave kamai utshave kamei de haus santira. Begin the yachshiv the sa'id kamai midili. La yinda beha he suudata yakira de chadva dili v'dibri v'yitol hahu chulaka v'yazil le v'yit parash nechedva disudata dila v'ilav the malka avid hache la yit parash hahu santira mibe malka.
He answers, it is similar to a king who was angry with his son.
Okay, so what is the metaphor? It's not an uncommon metaphor. It comes up in the Zohar all the time. We're dealing with a king, sometime in the queen, in this case, the king and his son. Who's the king? The creator. Who's the son? That's us. That's who we are. So I just want to point out that part of what we do there's a series of prayers that we say in the month of Virgo, of Elul, as we're approaching Rosh Hashanah and then 10 days of repentance. There's a series of prayers that we say every day. And in those prayers, there's this comparison between there's an analysis almost of our relationship with the Creator at 3 different levels. And I think it's really important for us to understand that and to find ways to internalize this. The most basic level is that of master and slave. The Creator is the master, we're the slaves, we carry out our role here in the world. And the thing about a master-slave relationship is like, it's master-slave. You're doing what you're told to do. That's it. You're given the orders, you do it. Okay, that's master-slave. That's a very low-level relationship. The next level up is actually employer-employee. There it's a little bit different. With employer-employee, the employer owes you certain duties. The employee owes the employer certain duties. There's a relationship, and there's loyalty. The employer is loyal to the employee, and the employee is certainly loyal to the employer. And their interests are aligned in that way. But at the end of the day, 5 o'clock comes, the whistle blows, and the employee punches the clock, metaphorically, and is done. He's not taking the work home with him. That's employer-employee. Above master-slave, but there's still a next, more elevated level, and that is king and son. And in that sense, it's more like a father-son relationship. And the difference is with a father and son, yes, the father, the king, is the superior of the two in the relationship. And the son is essentially working for and fulfilling the father's desires. But the son is like, he's on the team. Like, he's not punching the clock. It's a family business. And that's where we want to be in our relationship with the Creator. We need to acknowledge it's a family business. That's our Creator. That's our King. It's like we are here. And that's where we get this idea of like becoming like God. It's like we want to be channeling those desires. We want to be a part. We want to be as much like the Creator as possible. And that's the highest level of connection. And at that level of connection, that's what we're dealing with here. So again, aligned with this energy of Yom Kippur, we're actually also aligning ourselves with a very elevated consciousness in terms of what our relationship is with the Creator. And that's a huge opportunity we have in this little section of Zohar and this story here. Okay.
Where are we?
We are in verse 101. Maria, continue.
In Tetzaveh.
In Tetzaveh. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Rocky, volume 13, Tetzaveh. Paragraph 101. I didn't want you to have to go through all
I'm
23
totally in
volumes.
the wrong volume.
He summoned a bailiff who regularly meted out justice to people.
Okay, so what did he do, the king? Well, he was angry with his son. So what's he going to do? He calls the bailiff. That's the bailiff's job. The bailiff carries out punishments on behalf of the king. Okay, that's so far, that's our story. Keep going.
In order to come and punish his son, the bailiff rejoiced and entered the king's palace.
So the bailiff knows he's getting, hey, it's king on the line. He wants you to come to the castle. Awesome. I'm sure I'll be eating like a king. Yeah, you will, because you're going to be dining with the king. Good.
And entered the king's palace to eat there. As soon as the son saw him, he thought, certainly the only reason his bailiff has come to my father's palace is because the king is angry with me.
Okay, so the son's not a complete dummy. The son has the ability for self-reflection. He sees the bailiff. He knows why the bailiff is here usually. He realizes it's him. And so he now understands the situation. So another benefit for us is to understand when we see the bailiff, when we see, judgment coming our way, we want to see it. We want to see it before the judgment actually arrives, because then we can do something about it. And so the opportunity here is for us to sensitize ourselves, not to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but to the tree of life, so we can see the deeper significance of the things that are going on in our life, so as to remove the chaos that we encounter.
Can,
That's-
can you can you give an example of that? I mean, I've probably seen it, but I can't picture it right now. Like when have I sensitized?
Well, you keep getting an email telling you to pay
Oh.
that bill.
Yeah. Thank you. So
How's
simple.
that? How's that one?
Simple.
No, I got time. Then I got time to pay that bill.
Okay. Yeah. So simple.
I mean, it could be as simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's keep going.
What did he do? He tried to please him.
Okay, so not only did the son wake up to this reality of judgment coming his way, but he doesn't ignore it. He actually proactively reaches out to the king. He could have just said, he doesn't care about me anyhow. I'm not doing it. I'm not going. I mean, think about it. All the things that we do. You know what? I can't apologize to them. They don't deserve it. I mean, some things legitimately don't. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's not about an apology. Sometimes it's about we're literally being abused. So it's not always so clear what we're dealing with. But in this case, the son has enough self-awareness, and it was him who stepped out of line. And he also has the ability to humble himself and say, I need to be vulnerable here, and I need to reach back out and try and make things good. And so that's where we want to be. We're here. We got body consciousness. We're going to make decisions that are what's best for us to the exclusion of others. There'll be times where we are just reactive. We got to get this energy out. We got to get this anger out. We're going to fall into, like, a pool of fear. We're going to get reactive. But we need to be able to pick ourselves back up again. Understand that we just entered a lower consciousness, and get ourselves back aligned with our elevated self, our higher consciousness. And so again, we see the sun do that. And so for us, it's an opportunity for us to also elevate our consciousness. When you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, it's really not the wrong side of the bed, right? It's the wrong side of your consciousness. It's your lower consciousness. And it happens to all of us. It's not only when we wake up. It might be the phone call or the snide comment or the thing that didn't go our way. More than likely. Those are the things that kind of trigger us. I can't believe they did that to me. Why don't they show me more respect? What did I do to deserve that? Well, he must have done something. So right away, the son realizes, he knows, he's connected the dots. And again, that's what we want. We want to be able to be connecting the dots quickly. We want to demonstrate the resiliency that we have the capacity for, and understand that that didn't happen to us, that happened for us. That everything that's happening is happening for our benefit. Now, when we are reactive, that's not our first reaction. Our first reaction is, I can't believe this is happening. But we want to get to it, and that's, listen, I would say we're human, but we're not. We are souls having a physical experience. And in that physical experience, it's gonna hit our ego first. And so our initial response might be, I can't believe this is not happening. But what we want to do as students is pause and then reflect and say, yet I understand this is coming from the light. This is coming to me from the light. And it's easier said than done. But again, we wanted to earn the light. So this is what we end up with. Opportunities where we don't see it, and we have to pause and try and get our consciousness back aligned with the light. Okay, keep going.
Once he pleased him, the king ordered a magnificent feast for him and his son, and commanded that the bailiff would not know of it.
Can you imagine, put yourself in, you're the king. It's like, oh my God, he came to me. He feels bad. He's, let's party. We're going to party. But don't tell the bailiff. Don't let him know. Why? Why can't you tell the bailiff? Go ahead.
Afterwards, the bailiff came. The king thought, now if he knows of the grand feast that I prepare for my son and myself, there will be a confusion at the table.
So look, this is what it's like to be king. This is actually what it's like to be in a leadership position. You need to be one step ahead. Now, when we're talking about the creator is always unlimited steps ahead. That's not the point. But even for us, when we're in a position of leadership, we want to be one step ahead. We need to consider the things that we do and how they impact the people around us. It could be employer-employee. It's like if I'm doing for one, do I do for the other? Well, did they meet their goals for this quarter? I mean, so it's like you want to have objective standards that we set up. We want to always have the ability to see the impact. As a parent, the same thing, especially when there's multiple kids. Like you want to be able, in the kids' minds, to know that you love them equally. Okay, keep going.
What did he do? He called the butler in charge over the feast and told him, prepare something to put before me and the bailiff so that the bailiff would think that he dined with me and would not know about the other precious feast for me and my son.
Oh, so now this picture is emerging, and we can now start connecting the dots with the goats. But before we do that, so what does the king do? To avoid the confusion that the bailiff is going to be in, he calls the butler and says, we need to prepare a feast for him too, so he won't feel left out. Okay. I just think it's fascinating that we see here father, son, king, son, employer, employee. At another level, we're witnessing and the butler is at a more elevated position than the bailiff. So we see this like hierarchy of relationship with the creator. And again, for us, it's an opportunity to grow in our awareness of our relationship with the creator. How do we see the creator and us? Okay, keep going.
He would then take that portion and leave and disengage from our joyous feast. If the king had not done this, that bailiff would not have left the king's palace.
He'd be waiting for his chicken dinner. Winner chicken dinner. He'd be waiting for his chicken dinner. So in the end, it all works out. It all works out. Of course it does. Because he's the king, because it's the creator. And so everything that we experience is going to work out. Really, let me tell you what's going on in my life. I understand. It's all going to work out. It's all part of the divine design of the life that we signed a contract on in coming here and asking for certain things so we could do the work we wanted to do. It all works out. What's this have to do with the two goats? 102. Kach amar kuchabrichu liYisrael, azminu train seirin, chad li v'chad lahal dal Torah, begin the yachshiv di mesudata dili ka'achil, v'layinda bisudata de chedva achar dilan, v'yisav hahu chulaka, v'yazil la'arche v'yitparash mibeti. Kevan de ima ila'a, alma da'ate, ate lemishrei go, hechla de alma tata, lashgecha ala bin hiru de anpin. Dinhu de la yishtekach, hal dal Torah, v'lamare de dinim lekame kad apik, kol birchan, de anhir lechola, v'chol hahu chiru yishtekach, v'yishvel natle me'inun birkan. Maria?
So did the Holy One, blessed be he, said to Israel, prepare 2 goats, one for me and one for that slanderer.
Okay, so like just like that story, so too in this story. That's what the Zohar is saying. That story is illustrative of the story of the 2 goats. Prepare 2 goats, one for me and one for the slanderer. Go ahead.
Namely the other side, so that he will think that he ate from my meal and will not know of the other, our own joyous meal.
Now, interestingly enough, does the son have to worry about the bailiff? No, the king took care of it. Do we have to worry about the opponent? I mean, to the degree that we are aligned with the light, we don't. To the degree we listen to the opponent, we have an issue. It's like we need to, and this is a very basic idea. We need to enhance our consciousness so we know when it's the voice of the opponent that we're hearing. It's not us. We are never putting our souls down. We are never selling our souls short. We're never telling our souls that you're not entitled to that. We're never saying that. It's always the voice of the opponent. It just sounds so real. Okay, keep going.
Let him take that portion and go his way and depart from my house. Since supernal Ima, which is the world to come, namely Binah, came to dwell in the sanctuary of the lower world.
Okay, so stop there for a second. So what the Zohar is saying, we're sending the first goat to Azazel. We're sending it so that just like the bailiff gets his chicken dinner and he leaves, so too the other side. So metaphysically, what's taking place is this energy that's being given to the other side so that the other side is not involved. In what? In Yom Kippur. On the day that we are entering the highest of highs, the flawless universe, the realm of fulfillment. The doors are open and we're going to try, we have, again, 24 hours to gather as much as possible. The other side is not there. That's been taken care of. And that, again, for us, it's just so interesting that in order to get to that place on Yom Kippur, we got to fast, among other things. I mean, that's not easy. The idea of the fast is so that we're making a greater spiritual connection, but the other side of the fast is I'm hungry. All I can do is think about food. Isn't that a distraction? I mean, to some degree it is, but that's why we have all the other things that we do on that day to keep ourselves focused on keep your eye on the prize. That's what we're doing. And what about Purim? Pour yourself a glass of wine, kick back, have a good time. None of those restrictions. So I think this section is so powerful because as we are in the day today is Purim Katan. It is a mini version of Purim. And roughly 30 days from now, we'll be back in the second Adar, Pisces, where we'll have the opportunity to connect into a much stronger connection to the upper realm on the day that we actually connect to the energy of Purim. Like, look at the contrast. The work we have to do to get to a higher level on Yom Kippur, and what do we have to do in Purim? We put on a costume, and then we read the Megillah, and it's a big wine drinking party. The contrast is huge. And yet we're making a lot of the same kind of connection. And so for so much of our time, we're working. Like we have to do work to get to an elevated consciousness. So you don't want to miss Purim. It's an unbelievable opportunity you don't want to miss. A person will be in LA. You're all welcome to join me. That's my plan. I'm just saying, like, it's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity. Okay, let's keep going.
Came to dwell in the sanctuary, the lower world, to observe it with a radiant face. It is only right that the slanderer will not be present, nor the plaintiff, when he takes out all the blessings and illuminates everything.
So that's what's happening on these days. All the blessings and everything is illuminated with blessings. It's an amazing thing. Good.
And all the manners of freedoms is available in Malchut, and Israel received those blessings.
So that, again, this is, what is this all about? And it's interesting, there's a reference to, since we are making this Binah connection, which is described as supernal Ima, which again is the world to come. It sounds like it's not happened. It sounds like it's gonna happen. But we know that the world to come is really the world that comes. It's this energy that's flowing from the upper realm. And so we're making an extra deeper connection to that flow from the upper realm. And then it describes it as to observe with a radiant face. What is the radiant face? So it's actually, I think, a very, very deep concept. We're going to close with this, but I'm going to analogize it to our own. No part of your body smiles like your face does. Like who you are and where you're at is always on display. It's the power of, like, when we show up with a sourpuss, we're withholding our light. And when we show up with a smile, we're sharing our light. And so where appropriate and with boundaries and in safe places, we want to show up smiling. We want to show up with our positive energy. We want to show up vibrating our positive energy. And you can tell when someone's vibrating positive energy because you can look at their face. Okay, so with that, we're gonna wrap up. Thank you all for joining, and Shabbat Shalom. Love you all. Have a great weekend.
Shabbat shalom all.
Bye.
Shalom.